we need to change the way we think.
Is it getting expensive in any sense? Or when it's gonna happen? What's it gonna be?
This is a hype, it's gonna go away, like the last cool JavaScript framework.
Which is just magical.
AI is like mobile to me.
Not chat.
The 1970 database was AI.
Today, we have a pleasure to host Boaz from HoneyBook. Hey, Boaz, would you mind introducing yourself quickly?
Hi, pleasure to be here. I'm Boaz. I'm long time at HoneyBook and a really long time at the industry here in Israel, about 20-something years, being in a lot of roles, mostly around coding, which is one of my passions. I really still love do coding. At HoneyBook, today what I do is I lead our engineering guild, which is the organization within HoneyBook that has no direct business metric. Instead, it has engineering metrics. We try to push from the engineering side and to balance the need of the organization to strive forward business metrics with longer-term engineering goals. Before that, at HoneyBook, I've done IC roles in many projects, and I'm doing this in the past 3 years. Aside from HoneyBook, I live with my lovely wife, 4 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and I hope neither one of them will interrupt us.
So yeah, the topic for today's talk is broadly speaking, the AI adoption across organization, and we believe like you are a very, very good guest for that because as far as we hear, AI goes very, very deep into HoneyBook. So let's explore together how you guys came there, what are you guys doing, what are the challenges, and so on and so forth. If you don't mind, would you quickly describe how exactly the AI journey started in HoneyBook? I mean, the AI wasn't always there, right? As the HoneyBook as a company is much, much older. So I assume there was this almost like the GPT moment for HoneyBook, where you guys said, okay, now we have to convert into like AI first company. And so what was this moment? How long ago was it like a one event or like a sequence event? So how really this came about, you know?
So I really think this unfolded on many separate events, each with its own volume or impact on the organization. And actually AI, what we today call it legacy AI, has been with us obviously before the large language models. We've been using AI for different purposes within the product, within the company. Today, when we call AI and the change that it brings on to companies and organizations and everyone's life, actually, we definitely mentioned the LLM area. So we've been using that before that. I had 2 clues of what is going to happen. First one is on my personal life. My big brother is actually a doctor, has a PhD in mathematics and computer science. And on 2020, he told me, I'm quitting my job and doing a startup. I told him, okay, that might not be the best time. That was COVID. There was a lot of
depends on what you do, right?
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty around, but he told me, listen, I've been in this field for many years. Something happened in the past few years. It's still in the early days. And I'm going to tap into it. Today, by the way, he owns Bria, and they are doing image and video generation for media companies. So that was my first hint. Like I said, okay, that PhD mathematics probably knows something, but I'm not sure what it's really all about. Fast forward, first GPT. And to me, the sparkling moment was when I first asked him to write some piece of code. And seeing that code being reading so fast, and obviously it wasn't perfect code, and obviously it was a very easy problem to solve. But to me, it was very clear that this is something new and our life is going to change. And so that was late 2020, late 23, I don't remember by now. It was the first moment when we saw LLMs for the masses. In between, I think there was the Copilot of GitHub, which was the first LLM application merged into our IDEs. I think that was like a vitamin to our work. It didn't at the time disclose the full potential of what's about to come. Like you were starting to write, and it was really, really good, really good code completion, which is cool. But it was only a hint of what is going to come. So the first GPT moment, I remember myself telling everyone, we have these guild meetings. This is not going to go away. This is going to affect any one of us. It's unclear how fast. It's unclear to what impact and to what part of our work is going to be affected. But definitely all of us should keep our eyes on this ball, because this is a life-changing event in terms of our craft.
Right.
So that was like the events that was the prophet moment to me for the industry, like the industry signal to me.
Right, that makes sense. And just to confirm, I guess you being the technical guy in your guild, being like the technical guild, were probably the first in the company to spot this, right? Or the other departments were looking to that as well in parallel?
Yeah, engineering was definitely the first. Leadership was noticing as well. It was really, really very noisy, and there was a lot of hype around it the moment it came. So everyone was all around it. But I think engineering was the first to adopt and say, this engineering, by engineering, I mean all types of engineering, of course, data science, data engineering as well. We all see it as one organization. Internally at HoneyBook. So all the professions, all the leaders say, okay, this is, and the early adopters said that this is something big. It was very clear, but it was unclear what to do with it, at what pace it will affect us, what are the implications at the near term.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's very fair, and I believe it's also fair to say that even now, many things are unclear, although we have obviously walked a long way, and there are almost like playbooks, at least a certain areas of how you can use AI, and still some people struggle to find like the best application, especially when everything changes like day by day, right? And and I guess basically it will be also fair to say that since engineering was the first to see the potential impact, or at least almost like predicted that, you also were like the driving force throughout the whole company to start looking into that direction as well, right? I mean, obviously, I assume leadership had to step in at some moment and say, okay, that's our like new direction. But did the initiative come from engineering, like in general, like the initial?
So leadership. Yeah, so good question. Leadership always says, this is interesting, let's look at this. But someone has to break down the vision into actionable items and when to tackle stuff. So I think leadership were totally aligned on this is definitely something everyone should be looking into. But we from engineering and product as well had to come up with tangible plans of what and how. So I think this is how the two sides merged into a plan, actionable items, sometimes organically, sometimes well thought with a longer term.
Let me ask you about this kind of like early adopters burden. If you try to adopt new technology very early, you see all this like rough edges. Something is not working, and many people, they simply don't give it a second chance. So how you, first of all, like, did you have this back pressure from engineers who tried it too early probably and decided, oh, it's not ready yet? And how you overcome this? Because it's usually like a very, very difficult thing once people form their opinion, shaped it, and they stick to it, and you need to change it basically. It's now it's completely different. Now it's like new opinion, new technology every other week. But back in the days, like 2-3 years ago, it was completely different. So could you please tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So a lot of people had this sparkling moment of this is big, we should keep playing with that until it works, and we should be ready. We had a lot of people in HoneyBook and colleagues as well outside of HoneyBook saying, okay, this is not working. This is not mature enough. This is hallucinating in nature, which is, by the way, correct. In nature, it's built to hallucinate. And I think a lot of those people had bad experience, and then they had different ways out. Some said, okay, I'm not doing this. This is not reliable. This is a hype. It's going to go away, like the last cool JavaScript framework, and I'm back to my desk and back to my sprint and back to my Kanban board of tasks. Some said, okay, that's impressive, and it's not ready to be adopted at all places, but let's see where can we adopt it, and let's say how we can play with that. And some said, I'm going to invest an hour a day, regardless of what I need to do, to keep up playing with this until I find a way to harness it to my job. And obviously, that wasn't in one day. It was over those 3 years, and I think since then it was exponential in terms of adoption. Like in early days, many said that's not good for my work. And by the way, talking about a big company with bigger code bases, different code bases, multidisciplinary, and a lot of issues and challenges of the day-to-day, LLMs was far from perfect to begin with. Today, we still struggle to adapt them. And there are many, many interesting solutions to adapt on big code bases. But what I'm trying to say, it really matters what do you do in your day. If you put on greenfield product, you could have leveraged AI tremendously 18 months ago, 12 months ago. If you're trying to do some harder work on bigger code bases, you probably started seeing the real impact a few months ago, namely Opus 4.5.
Yeah. Clearly, that's very fair. And by the by, everyone kind of mentions it. It just feels so recent, that the what was it, like December, I think, 4.6 was released, was another like very good change. And for some people, it really almost like suddenly started working, I would say, which is just magical because you don't expect it to change like almost overnight, but in fact that did happen. Maybe it was like a critical mass of engineers. Maybe it really was that missing like 1% of precision or something like that. But yeah, it's quite a common opinion. Well, since you mentioned that like everyone adopts the AI at their own pace, or adopted at their own pace, and it very much depends on what you do. So inside HoneyBook, as of now, which departments use AI? As in more or less, not at all. I assume some use like to some extent, almost all use to some extent. But if you were like to bucket them into like different, like from, just, like using ChatGPT to ask questions, all the way up to completely automated their work and just observing, right? So where do they usually sit, like inside HoneyBook specifically? I assume engineering is probably like the rightmost end of the spectrum, where like the adoption is like the highest, right? But what about other like other parts of the company?
Okay. First, I think I left one question out regarding on how we tackle or help people cross the leap of faith. I think I left that question outside, so I would like to answer that, and then to the question of adoption across HoneyBook. So actually, the textbook for adopting the right technologies and working the right way in engineering, to me, was always repeating comms and leading by example and leading by success stories. I think this is, even before AI, the way engineering guilds should work and should push anyone by showing them this is the right way, and choosing the right battles where we do this. Obviously, the perfect engineering is almost never the answer. So it's kind of finding the right places of pushing good engineering practices. I think in AI, it was the same. Repeating comms, showing success stories, and showing how it could work, started converting the late majority. And even though, and again, also naming the step functions like Opus 4.5 and say, hey, if it wasn't been working well before, try now because this and that. And obviously Cloud Code and its harness also gave another step function for, I would say, for the late majority, like people who were just using it all around, felt that those two step function late November, which leads me to what happens today. So today, actually, I think everyone is using AI. I think using AI as Google, like just ask your favorite Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, or Grok. By the way, I love Grok for news. Grok for news is the best. But the other three for day-to-day, this is just the new Google. Literally, Google changed Google to show Gemini as the first result. So I think that's pretty much the standard now. When I see folks actually Googling it and going immediately to the result, it's kind of weird by now to me. So this is like everyone is using all the time. And then there are several use cases. I would say all of the different departments in HoneyBook at this point use for different purposes. A lot are using Lovable for just ideation. And this is not only engineering, of course. A lot are using Cloud Code for communication internally for, I just saw we have this share your success story spot on our weekly, and someone said he built a skill of /morning, which like take everything on the table and digest him and give him the probably best free action items for the morning. And obviously it learns and it keeps on iterating on that. I just had a talk from someone amazing from finance who is building internal dashboards with Cloud Code. She's vibe coding securely on top of the data and using that to digest her information. And having her talking about Python 6 months ago would have been like, I would have guessed that. And now she's just saying that on the go, yeah, I'm just doing that. And by the way, asking for advice, what is safe? I said, okay, that's a good question. and we discussed how she should use it securely. Within engineering, we've seen massive shift from Cursor to Cloud Code. Basically, both are still being used for different purposes. But since that step function, we're seeing engineering strive for autonomous workflows as much as possible with human in the loop in the right places. And this is actually a struggle on the balance with security. Like, how do we enable it with enough guardrails so it can be as much autonomous as we could have it? And within the big code base, and we also a fintech company, this is obviously not just dangerously skip permission and let it do it work. It's probably not a good idea. So this is something we invest a lot these days.
May I ask you about one interesting thing? Because like sometimes when I speak with friends of mine, with colleagues from different companies, it's like one or another. It's like everyone, I don't know, given Cloud Code subscription, or everyone in the company is given about, I don't know, Cursor subscription. So everyone uses one piece and they are kind of like mastering it and making sure it works inside. Based on what you mentioned, I see that you are guys like use whatever you're comfortable with. Am I right? Like how this approach works for you?
So we're big believers of adapting to the rapid pace of changes. So we've been actually continuously POCing with everything. And this is actually not only the top level tools, Cursor, Codex, ChatGPT, Windsurf at the time, Copilot at the time, but also the internal and underlying tools. We just had a POC for Context 7, and we We're looking into Whisper. Would it be secure enough? So I actually think that environment of experimentation is really key for success for adopting. And it also encourages you to actually not double down on certain vendor and don't have a lockdown on certain tools that will only fit a certain vendor because of the pace of changes. So we have our own, by the way, MCP, which is like a proxy for, I would say, a hub of internal skills and a hub of internal content, where we continuously contribute to it. And since this is like a standard protocol, we believe we can change between tools as it's needed. So basically, we're experimenting with everything, balancing with security, of course. We have an amazing security team. I actually love calling them the enablement team because they do a really good balance between the different goals. So we are all in for experimenting more. There is also a cost issue, which is... I think it makes sense at some point, like we're still having costs that we are able to pay, but meaningful costs, but not something that a big company can pay. I think pretty soon that would also imply on how we choose vendors, because there will be a lot of negotiations. There's a lot of different factors here. We know that some subscription models have lower cost per token. So this will also be one concern we should tap into, because that's going to be meaningful. We're already seeing big numbers. So I think this will kind of limit our way of full experimentation.
May I also ask you about, like you brought some examples, some very interesting examples, like someone from finance started building dashboards. Some, I don't know, like product managers building something lovable for rapid iterations. How overall company have changed during this like 2-3 years? Like, did engineers become more efficient, or they became more anxious? Did your, I don't know, like leadership started building something before even speaking with engineers? Like different companies, they had this shift, and this shift affects them differently. So what's in that for HoneyBook?
So I think all roles have more power into being more independent. I'm a very poor product manager, but now I'm a decent product manager, given I'm going to ask the right LLM. I'm not going to replace the product manager with LLM, but I'm more capable of going further on my own. As to managers and leadership, what is really interesting to me, we now have the power, and frankly, it's kind of addictive to do stuff we weren't able to do before, because just starting them would have cost us so much time. And the nature of our roles is usually we have like windows of time throughout the week to experiment with stuff. And now I see that we all have a lot more potential of things we can do at those hours scattered along the week. What else are we seeing? We're seeing analysts doing actually their own coding changes for what they need. We're seeing analysts becoming builders. We're seeing a designer doing their own design fixes. They do need the engineer to approve that, but usually that's a really small PR to work with. And it's easy, actually, because if it's a big PR for a design change, it's usually the answer is, okay, Cursor, do it again. You've been hallucinating. And we're thinking, by the way, how can we not look at this code? What can we do to skip the review at least at some level, because obviously that's going to be a bottleneck. What else are we seeing? Like I said, personal automation. Folks are doing a lot of stuff. I was just doing some cross-org operations, and I had the option of going to the main channel, saying to anyone, hey, everyone who used that, we need to do this change. And then I said, I don't need it. I just got the list from the tool I need to do the change. I DM'd any one of them. I asked Claude, after 2 hours, go and gather all responses and response according to that. And I think by 90 minutes of work, I did something that would have been not only time-consuming to me, but to the whole company in terms of noise and in terms of mentioned channel and all of those noisy operations. So all around, I think, yeah, and by the way, Lovable definitely used for user research. They're building live products instead of going to develop just to say someone, like, it's probably kind of a smoke test, right? They have this flow they want to test. They have this messaging they want to test. Very useful. Marketing can spin off a landing page and test some PPC on top of it. Really, really easy. So all of those are kind of making all roles more independent. I'm still not in the, like, there are different, I would say there are different thoughts about how it's going to look, and a lot of prophets are saying we're going to need a 2-people company, no more. I don't think it's going to be the situation. I think there's going to be more need for more people, but they all need to work differently. We all need to adapt in order to stay relevant.
Right. So yeah, just to close on this one, what you mentioned is basically like a mixture of some people just started to work faster because certain bits of their work were automated. For example, your instance is probably one of that. Also, is kind of strange, but still, right? You managed to basically do what you would have done otherwise manually with more noise, as you say, but you managed to do it faster, right? And some people just did this 0 to 1 jump, right? So the designers previously were not able to spin the landing page by their own. Now they can, right? I mean, roughly, what do you think where more impact lies in terms of both like the value and the numbers? Is it more that most of the people started to work faster, so like it's almost like incremental, or for the majority of instances, it's actually like a disruptive, like bridging the gap between people not being able to engineer something and being able to engineer something? Well, obviously in HoneyBook instance, at least.
So I think the biggest impact we see is our more greenfield projects. We see those running really, really fast. And for them, I think it's about velocity. For the big product CRM, where we have a lot of challenges of bigger product, like production and a lot of users, I think it's more about the autonomy and being able to do more without needing your peers. So I think it depends on which size and automation for your own day. I think that's, I would say 50% are finding a way to automate something on their day by now, around this ballpark, and just be more efficient on their day-to-day with different tasks.
Right. And obviously, by extension, what you guys see as maybe like the areas or the applications, or maybe some instances where the AI adoption didn't move the needle or made things worse, or broke something, I don't know, because clearly there should be some, right?
Okay, so I think the most clear and disappointing to me personally is within the product. We have our AI tools within the product, and they have really, really nice impact. We have different AI features that are moving the needle at some points, email drafting, integrations with note takers. What else is really useful? You get your priority list, and you have your psychic chat within the product to ask things. And obviously through onboarding, you get a lot of value. But at this point, I thought this would be more meaningful. And I think we as engineers and we as tech companies always need to remember that adoption in the market is not as fast as it seemed in our social networks. We have a really clear selection bias in our social networks. And the fact that we see so much potential in this technology doesn't mean the market would say, hey, I don't need the interface, just give me a chat to do anything, and this is all I need. No, people still want their classic interface, especially the majority of the market. And so there I didn't observe what I had expected. And like I said, within the big code base, it didn't move the needle as much as we wanted. We're seeing metrics that hadn't moved, like PR throughput, which is kind of a big metric we all expect to go higher, didn't move as much as we thought. We're seeing a lot of local successes there, but not as. But in the broad metrics, we're still not seeing that. I'm hoping it's kind of coming soon, because the real impact for big code bases, like we said, happened a few months ago, and it needs to take time. It also needs to create the right tools and internal processes for it to work on bigger code bases. So I think this is also coming soon, like migrations that. For example, modularization is something that we really, really believe would enable LLMs to have much better impact and harnesses on top of LLMs. But those are huge projects. But now we're able to do them. So we're seeing start of faster modularizations within our code bases, which we believe would enable us to see much more throughput.
Right.
So those are still not there.
Yeah, that's actually a very good one, I think, because I keep hearing, and I actually see that in my examples as well, that especially in engineering, people started doing, like broadly speaking, people started doing things they wouldn't do before, because it's nice to have, but it would take time or focus or whatever. And usually before that could be examples of, either some small refactorings or some bigger goals. It doesn't really matter, but really the motivation before was like, yeah, we have to do this one day, but it's gonna take like a week worth of my time. So I have like more important things now. And with AI, you can actually do this almost like on the side. And if result is bad, you can always dismiss it. But if the result is good, well, you just like did the extra bit on top, right? And it's actually quite interesting to hear that the project adoption is not moving forwards. Do you think it's really like the almost like the market inertia, it's just people getting used to it, or it's maybe because when we compare the adoption of AI within the company versus within the product, the company naturally has like more motivation to use it and more guardrails to steer it properly, whereas in the product it's almost like let go wild, and maybe it just doesn't work as well, I would say. What's your gut reaction to why this is happening?
So both. Also, the market itself need to adapt, and it's not an easy adoption. It's going to be faster adoption than former technologies, and I would be really, really surprised if this would be one of those technologies that would end up on the sides. Like I believe cryptocurrency hasn't met its value. I believe 3D printing is amazing, but they are not mass market in terms of real usage. And they had big promise. AI is not that kind. AI is going to meet everyone, and is already meeting. Like AI is like mobile to me. We've been seeing small children, like at the age of 2, being able to work with an iPhone and do stuff. So we're seeing really young children talking to LLMs and having value from that. So I believe it's going to happen, but I believe especially for businesses, for work that is dedicated, it's going to take time. And also, it's not good enough. We still need to improve that. So I believe it's both sides of this. And I believe we also see that on other companies as well. Like AI is really cool. They have really nice stuff, but almost nobody dropped the classic interface yet. And the chat interface by now really good, right? They embed and they render descriptive UI components internally, and it looks really good. Cloud Code doing amazing on ASCII. Like you get tables and you get a lot of nice interface even with ASCII at this point. But still, no one has dropped the classic interface in the mass market or in the SMB area specifically audience. And yeah, I just had a couple of days ago, I was working with someone that we were pairing on Cloud Code, and we're doing something, and then we had the branch ready. I said, okay, I'm going to open a PR. And then he switched from Cloud Code to open the PR. I said, why do you do that? You were already there. Tell him to open you a PR. I said, all right. And then I told him, okay, open a PR. And then he said, okay, I'm going to ask for review. And he switched back to the browser to ask review for me. I said, no, he can do that. He can do everything. And he said, oh, right. And I, to me, that moment was, okay, we need to change the way we think, right? Like we used to do stuff, and we need to rethink everything we do. Do I still need to do that? Am I willing to have 80-90% success on a simple task that I was used to do in a certain way, but now I can do it faster? Like if I would say ask a review from Boaz, it will probably succeed in 99% of the time. But if I would say ask a review from someone who is maybe first name or more common, he could get confused, right? So I might need to iterate on that. But the internal thinking of let's stay with AI and ask him to do everything is still something we as engineers need to adopt. Obviously, it also meets everyone who needs to send invoices to their bookkeeper, right? I need to take all the invoices from all the tools that I use and send it to the bookkeeper. To me, it's very stressed and it's very hard operation because I don't want to do that, right? Nobody wants to do that. But having having AI do it for you is really something like it's a big leap they need to do in terms of trust, in terms of even think that AI can do that. So I think in terms of behavior, human needs time, and in terms of quality within the product, engineers and companies needs time to make it better as well. So both sides of the coin.
No, that's very clear. By the way, we observe the same, that sometimes engineers heavily using AI and do things as you suggested. In fact, in our company, for example, everyone probably started opening DPR through Cloud Code quite early because we have like a lot of very specific requirements, how DPR should look, how description should be written, and so on and so forth. So they quickly realized that it's actually easier to ask AI. But nevertheless, the other bits, debugging something or things that really excels with using the tools and cuts you the chase of just even remembering where to look and things like that. It's a great shortcut. But yeah, it does take a bit of time to switch something in your head to understand it actually can do that. And yeah, I just wanted, before we switch into the next section, I see Dima is already giving me looks. Just wanted to chime in regarding one thing. I very much vibe with the idea of the chat interfaces having their own UI, and I try to push that idea like everywhere possible. I'm too lazy to prototype it myself, to be honest, but I also think that the chat as an entry point is a great entry point because it's a blank canvas, so you can ask the agent to do anything, the agent will figure. But really the missing bit is for those agents to be able to respond to you with like the rich UI tailored to the specific task. It's kind of almost there. As I said, Cloud Code does also this ASCII things, but I think we shall sooner or later end up in the future where you open a desktop app of Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, and you say like, hey, get me like whatever the financial report of how the company did last month. And instead of just presenting you the table, it can show almost like a mini app with the charts and everything that you can interact with. I think it's literally around the corner because it's very obvious, but it's almost like not standardized enough, I would say, for everyone to adopt. You can do some prosthetics to do that with like preview mode in Claude Code and whatever, but I really think that's going to be like a very, very important moment for casual users, because they will suddenly start to be able to use it like on a bigger scale and to do their tasks better, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
No, I agree, but I think it will happen for tech organizations much faster than it's going to happen for the mass market.
Oh, probably, yeah.
I think there's still a way to go on the behavior change there.
I'd like to build up a little bit over that, because like in my head, we started with chat because LLMs were basically built for text, and chat is like the way you basically interact with text. But what I'm looking for, and I'm repeating myself like again and again, and during all the conversation, I'm looking for this like breakthrough moment when we actually will see products, not chats. I don't know what that's gonna be, but like something. We have like amazing piece of technology, which should bring us something better than chat, basically. And I'm waiting for that for 3 years, like when it's gonna happen, what's it gonna be. And like I'm bringing this analogy of like an iPhone with touch screen, where you use like your finger and not like artificial piece of something. And then you've got multi-touch when you like pinch for zoom and all this stuff. Where this magnitude of changes with LLMs, I don't know. I'm waiting for them for 3 years, and I'm still waiting, and it's going to be Christmas for me when something of that will happen. But we'll see.
I have 2 observations on that.
Go for it.
Robots. I think robots going to be a nice interface for LLMs. I don't know how soon. We're seeing really good stuff, but I think for them it's going to be a really great and frightening at the same time moment. And the second observation is Siri would still not work.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair. Boaz, you mentioned several times like you have some metrics, and usually when you have metrics, you try to kind of tie them down to some financial aspects. So if I will ask you, like, what is the best, if you need to choose one metric for your organization to watch over, to define that you are doing basically better, whatever better means, like faster, more efficient, whatever. What's that metric gonna be, and how you connect it to basically to money spent to justify this?
So for the company, I think it's pretty obvious that either it's going to be financial metrics, either ARR or even better gross margin. But the problem with that is it's not tangible for us engineers to work with that. Okay.
Yeah, you need something less explicit.
Some lead indicator. Yeah, unless you would have the very unwelcomed output of folks, engineers saying, okay, if gross margin is a thing, I'm just going to cut cost, which is counterproductive for growth, obviously. So we need lead indicators, and this is a really, really hard question. And I've been actually, when I started this role, I spent quite a lot of time, and there are a lot of really interesting frameworks. Space framework, I really love it. But in the end of the day, I ended up saying, okay, they are all hard to measure and confusing, DORA metrics and all. They are all correct, but not really actionable and too big. So today I recommend use cycle time and PR throughput, which are kind of it's the same metric to me, right? The cycle time is also the count of things, and iterate on the slowest part. So I think this would be the best metric for because it's the simplest and it's a proxy for reality for engineering organization. Today I'm going to add like unique contributors for PRs, because today I expect to see more people creating PRs as well, which would imply a wider adoption of tools. Yeah, I wouldn't go into saying how much of the code was written by hand and on AI. I wouldn't go on and say, let's optimize for smaller PRs. I would just say, this is a metric, do whatever you need on certain groups, teams, whatever the focus is at the moment of question, to optimize it. And sometimes you just need good people and just make them observe, hey, see the pickup time. It's longer than you expect. Just have this shift of reviews and of reviewers, and you would see your velocity goes in 20%, just because PRs won't be laying around. Oh, today they would say, okay, so let's build like some process with LLM inside of 5 bots with different personalities reviewing the PRs, security, performance, coding structure, design patterns, and I don't know, one who actually look for bugs. So I would say those kind of metrics would lead to continuous improvement.
But if you have, and I assume that you have some kind of this data for, I don't know, cycle time or PR throughput, if you try to look back into that for, I don't know, like, let's use last 6 months, how the change looks like. I'm very curious. Is it like linear change? It's just like growing? Is it like step function where it like goes up at some point of time? Or is it like, or you're seeing some kind of signs of exponential growth? How it looks inside for it?
Definitely not exponential. For exponential, we're gonna need to do a lot of more things internally. I would say linear and not as fast as I would love it to be, but it's kind of correlate with what I said better. I believe now we're at the phase of adapting to the new world. For example, so we were joking yesterday on don't leave Cloud Code, try to make everything from there. This actually has a lot of implications of what needs to be added to Cloud Code, tools, guardrails, and whatever, in order so you wouldn't need to leave it. And every time someone from the team solves something, it's going to be like propagated across everyone. So I believe and also we named modularization as a problem that we need to tackle. I believe we're still seeing the preparations for the linear rate to accelerate. I don't expect exponential until we reach this, I don't know, singularity moment of full autonomy. I'm kind of skeptic full autonomy within the big code base in the near term because of the, well, it's kind of expected that if we create exponential more changes and the rate of errors even would go, I don't know, 1/10 of current, we would have some big problems ahead, right? Because it's a matter of numbers. So at some point, having the risk management, even as low as we can, would stop the exponential growth from keeping on. And I think that's decent. Let's see what happened there. On a greenfield project, we actually see really, really fast numbers, right? They are doing really, really a lot of PRs, and I wouldn't say exponential because it's greenfield, so there wasn't anything else there before, but the rate there is, I would say, much, much faster than the big code base. You could call it exponential, but it's locally exponential on certain experiments. So it's still, and like we said, the holy grail and the North Star is ARR and financial metrics, and obviously greenfield projects more often than not die before they meet that. So it's kind of, I would call them side metric at this point.
Right. I think Karpathy said it well, is that for some reason everyone expects exponential improvements everywhere. And as you said, maybe when the AGI comes, then sure, we'll see something like that. But in reality, if you look at literally whatever metric, like the world GDP or the financial market size or whatever, on a slightly bigger scale, the exponential is there. But the point is, you cannot really see any single technology really like accelerating the exponential, something like that. Like you don't see a jump where the computers were introduced. You don't see a jump where internet happened, because it always like diffuses over some point in time. And after a period of time, it accumulates and contributes to the overall exponential growth. So it kind of stays in there, but it's not like, iPhone got released, boom, tomorrow everything started doubling, right? And it might as very much be same with AI. It will start diffusing throughout the society and throughout the economy, and there won't be like we wake up the next day and everything is 10 times faster. It's probably going to be like more gradual. But yeah, point is we all rise in the exponential, like it or not. It's just fueled by different technologies at a different point of time. That is it. So. That's totally fine, I think.
There's one I love reading, Benedict Evans, like thought leader, analyst, and he said the 1970 database was AI. For people, having database was AI. It was really, really amazing, and everyone said it's going to change everything. Today it's just technology. So he's basically saying AI is really, really amazing, but in 3, 4, 5 years you would just call it technology, like one of our tools in our build, same like others, different, but on the same ballpark. So it resonates with me that we'll get used to this amazing thing, and it will be just another technology. By the way, when I mentioned singularity moment within our rate of velocity of PRs, I didn't mean AGI. I actually said we get to a point where you have a change request, maybe it's a support ticket or maybe it's a feature request, and you are able to do 90% of it autonomously. Even maybe it would start by someone clicking, hey, let's do that, and then that everything happens, and someone just need to approve, probably not all of the changes. So I wouldn't call it AGI in terms of what everyone are imagining in this singularity. But I would call it a local autonomy or agent that a lot of people work really hard to connect all the dots, so it will be able to be autonomous and run on its own.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the by, I assume you kind of can do the same on greenfield projects already, right? It's just again much harder with bigger code bases, which is
for sure
fair. Okay, so look, we did touch this topic of economy impact on the company, right? So naturally, I think the question then would be, do you guys, what phase are you guys basically in terms of managing the AI spend? You did mention that sooner or later you'll start looking after that, but is it fair to say that at the moment it's basically like use whatever you like within reason and it is fine, or you starting to put some like caps or guardrails, trying to tie the AI's usage and the impact? Basically, I guess it boils down to the very simple question: is it getting expensive in any sense, or is it just like a small addition to the bill at the moment? And do you expect it to grow so significantly you'll actually start to telling people, no more Opus for you for today, just use Sonnet or Haiku, something like that.
So I was actually saying, folks, at the early Cursor days, stop using Opus. But the reason I said that is, and this actually relates to the caps and limits, me and the AI tooling engineer who's working close to me, an amazing engineer, we're actually putting caps and limits on usage, on users, not because the overall cost, because we had some room there. By the way, we allocated, I think safe to say, $300,000 for all engineering. I called it AI tokens budget in the beginning of our fiscal year, which is 6 months ago. And we are going to pass. We're going to overuse that. And this is like a budget we hadn't. we hadn't had such budget 1 year before. But in terms of a big company, this is not a huge number. Like absolutely, it's an absolutely big number for me. But in terms of company, it's something we can pay. So as to the way we did it, we actually put some guards and limits on every user, not because we wanted to block them, because we wanted to learn who are the big spenders and what they are doing. And it actually unfolded really well because we found some really, really interesting use cases, and it helped us to communicate the amazing work of some individual. And it also taught us what are the different use cases and what should be aware of. For example, if you have someone who is vibe coding on its own with Opus 4.6 fast mode, and output tokens are ridiculously expensive. Basically, output tokens is the meaningful cost. Like all others actually blends inside. You could find like coding a product could get up to 10K easily. So if it's a good use case, yes, if that product meets demand. But question is the spend being done consciously, or I'm just doing something here and not aware of what I'm doing? So it actually helped us raise the limits where needed, and also share good use cases. And we're still doing that, and we're playing with the numbers, and we have forecast on the numbers, and we're actually comparing between different vendors. But we are doing this to learn the right usage and to learn to optimize the cost on the different possible outcomes. We're still not limiting anyone, and we still have room to grow.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say you mostly observe, right? Like you not exactly letting it loose, but you do watch after that. Yeah, and in terms of like reconciling that to anything, like do you guys start to enroll in, like you said, like if a designer spends 10K in tokens vibe coding landing page, do you guys somehow like reconcile that against maybe not the value, but like an additional value that brought? Or it's also mostly like let's see how it rolls, let's see how it pays off, if it pays off, and just let it happen? Or there is like more formal framework in place, like, you cannot spend more than your salary on tokens type of thing?
Have you seen the interview with Jensen of NVIDIA? He said that if you're a good engineer...
Not yet, it's in my...
So basically he said if you're a good engineer, you should spend... he said if you are 500K engineer, you should spend 250K a year on tokens, or you're not doing your job. And then I thought, I understand what he's saying, but that's not a good thing to say to the whole industry. Because it's really easy to get like... let me run something. By the end of the week, I'm going to be 200. But it doesn't make me a good...
very good thing to say for NVIDIA, though, right?
Yeah, definitely based. I think that the 10K story is an outlier, so I'm still not trying to say to everyone, don't build anything. We're definitely saying Opus good for something, and Haiku good for something else, Gemini good for the third use cases, and play with them. Composer 2 is by the way, showing nice results in the past week. So we're all about like share the information, try the different things, and know that there is cost. And by the way, it's also slower. So it depends on what you're trying to do. You might be missing the velocity you're looking for. So cost is not the limit. We're handling like those specific cases. By the way, the other 2 cases I had in the past month were amazing. Like there were sub 2K, and they were like big, meaningful projects for sure. Someone, by the way, rewrote our whole data warehouse modeling in $1,800, which is ridiculous. So we're not limiting, and we're heading case by case. We're still not seeing like meaningful numbers of dollars running away because we let it too loose.
Okay, look, that was a lot of insights and a lot of things grounded in your real experience. So I suggest to switch to my favorite section, which is a wild guess section, right? So let's see and try to measure almost what is the sentiment right now. What do we expect to happen? And I'll open with a very simple question, like, what do you think is to come in 2026 and 2027? Any ideas of yours based on your observations or visual thinking or whatever? You're really free to say whatever. It's just really interesting to get like the temperature in the room, like what you expect to happen, what you don't expect to happen, what you're looking for.
So 2026, we're going to see, I would say, more of the same, but more of the amazing same that we've been seeing so far. We're going to see another step function in LLMs, and we're going to see a lot of more connectivity, and it's going to be ridiculously easy to connect the 7 tools you use on your daily, and we're going to see the step function in models being translated to step function in velocity of organizations. I would say the top 20% will adapt in 26. In 27, I expect the impact on at least on the software companies to be wide in terms of the good ones will do much more. Those who won't adapt is going to get hit. It's going to be meaningful to them because those who will adapt will be much more capable and faster than they were before. And we're seeing the early signs of this, right? If you're just doing something specific and you're good with doing this small enterprise that has certain revenues doing a certain thing, you were going to discover that it's not hard to replicate as it was before. So I think it's going to be a shift between those two organizations. We are not going to see AGI, and not in 26 and not in 27. We're just going to keep humans in the loop because sadly we're going to see a lot of more horror security stories. Definitely going to come. Have you seen the one with OpenClaw? What happened there?
Which one though?
Yeah, well, so Anthropic told them change the name. They tried to change the name. In the meantime, someone stole the account and
yeah.
$60 million of new fresh token cryptocurrency rug pull, all in something like 72 hours. Ridiculous. Seriously, it's gonna kill. I mean, it's gonna happen much more on smaller scale probably. So there's going to be like a lot of vibe coders going to discover that security is an issue. Bigger organization going to invest more in security because the hacker is going to get much, much better, right? Deep fake is much more accessible now. The LLMs is going to be a weapon at this point for security. So we're going to see a lot of more investment in cyber. But then again, it also happened every year since. Like cyber is will ever go. It's like a sure bet. What else I believe would happen? I think more by 27, maybe late 27, more mass market adoption for more super apps, I would say. I'm already seeing like I said, my children using these chats, and once these chats would have more tools inside, I think it's going to be much more. There's going to be much more adoption for them. And my saddest prediction is OpenAI, which has taken us all up, will take us all down in terms of market. Yeah. So that's 27 as well. I think they're going to have a hard time, and let's see what happens with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that they're kind of losing the edge almost. It's now hard to pinpoint where the best at, right? So, it's is not easy, but equally they were the pioneers of that all. So we'll see. Maybe
but
will work
they
out
have the most aggressive investment model, which will, given that they don't have a moat or don't have, like, they can be just better than the others. They need to be much better than the others to meet those numbers. And since, like you said, in the end of all of those financial hoops and loops, there's always NVIDIA. And this is like circulating the same investments all around. So I believe it's going to be like, I don't know if they will die. I hope not, because I think they're a great company, but I believe something will happen which will take this whole market. Some air will go out of this bubble due to OpenAI.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think Dario said this well, because I don't remember when the interview was, like, quite recently, but he was asked, like, if you believe in the AGI just as much as others do, why don't you invest like Sam Altman does, right? And he said, look, we can be that optimistic, of course, but we want to keep the company. And what if our prediction comes late by like 6 months? We don't need to be completely wrong, right? We can just like plan for something to happen in a year and build data centers and whatever, but then it gets delayed by 6 months and there's no revenue to support that, and it's all goes bust. So he said we are like on overly cautious side because we don't want to go bust, basically. And it feels like OpenAI says like, no, whatever, we'll ride it and we see what happens. It's just, I mean, it's a strategy, right? Like you pick your battles. So okay.
Anton, you run as same as I do. Like you can have different strategy. You can start slow and do like second part faster, or you can start like crazy and hope you will be able to maintain this crazy pace. Sometimes it works out. So what I'm trying to say is that this market is and this like technology stage is like basically Wild West. Like scenes could turn out completely different for many players, and maybe OpenAI will surprise us, and we'll see. Oh, okay, they were actually operating based on some facts. Maybe they will not, and they're gonna be, I don't know, some random startup from New Zealand or anywhere else which will change the game. Or like I'm seeing this too many variables in this equation, and each and every of them could change the result like significantly. And it's very interesting to see how people predict the future. And honestly, I never ever heard two of the kind, two very similar ones.
Yeah, well, that's why they call predictions, right? I mean,
or guessing game.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, and so given the state of things right now, right? There are obviously like good things and bad things happening. I think it's fair to say some fueled by the AI adoption, some fueled by what I can call AI craze, right? So if you were like on a general, like not necessarily with regards to engineering, just like worldwide, what would you name as 3 good things to come out of this short to midterm versus 3 bad things to come out? What would you like and what you dislike about things? Again, you can narrow it down to your use case. You can go as broad as just what's your sentiment.
So as every new good technology, I think it, like I said, we're gonna have good things and we're gonna have bad things. The dynamite was a really, really good invention for the humanity, but look what happened with that. And it's still doing good stuff, right? It's still doing, it has good outcomes on the humanity, but obviously also bad. So I think it's gonna be for both sides with AI as well. So we're gonna have some great impacts. We're gonna see new vaccines, and we're gonna see targeted medicines, and we're gonna see research on all fronts being much, much faster. Because, a lot of researchers had to write Python code in order to move forward with the research. This is now commodity. They don't need to think about it anymore. It's like writing a few lines of Python or hundreds of lines even of Python for doing something is now really, really easy. So I believe research, health, medicines are going to have great outcomes. I believe we're going to have more software, not less software, and we're going to have more people working in the tech industry, not less, because we are going to do much more solutions which weren't as profitable as before, but now because the cost of making them went lower, we're going to build them.
Yeah, so, products basically, right?
Yeah, so those are good outcomes. Bad outcomes, definitely going to use for wars, definitely going to use for hacking, for and already being used probably. I don't know if that's our evolution as humans to keep the size of a number of people on this planet controlled, but we have this nature of taming technology to hurt each other. Very sad, very unfortunate, will happen here as well. But I hope not on a greater scale. And I think there's also, we will also have this cycle of one generation saying to the generation after, at our time, we were able to do X, and now you don't need to do that. That was with navigation, and then we stopped doing navigation. That was with writing stuff on paper, and then we stopped writing stuff on paper, and so on. This will happen, and it will happen actually much faster and with faster iterations. Like my biggest daughter is 15. She will see my youngest boy, which is 8, doing stuff she didn't at age of 15. Like 7 years is going to be a lot of time. So we will have also these transitions. What else? We will have a lot of fun because I believe this would enable much more creativity. To me, it's actually, like I said, it's addictive. Every time I'm away from Claude and I haven't given him something to work for, I have back of my mind, hey, let's build that. It's easy. Let's do something. Like I think a lot of black work was taken off the table now. So I believe it will also enable a lot of creativity, a lot of ephemeral apps. Let's just build app for this afternoon, play that, and wipe it later. It's doable. It's going to be exciting for sure.
Yeah, well, it's a great feedback on things happening, and it's really encouraging to see and to hear the excitement. I think that's the best mood we can all have during these times. So I think we can conclude here. Boaz, thank you very much. It was really, really pleasant to talk to you and to hear your perspective on many, many things. And thank you for taking the time.